areas in scientific writing and manuscript publishing for discussions, and some of the topics that have been dealt with are publishing in index journals, predatory and cloned journals, research metric, abstract writing, plagiarism, patenting, to name a few. The MCCRC, since its inception in May 2020, has successfully organized 97 academic discussions, 2 faculty development programs as on 31st January 2022, with about 80 speakers, where more than 5,200 participants have spent around 6,500 plus man-hours in this forum. The outcomes of these discussions has led to a significant decline in predatory publications. The Research Colloquium has initiated learning across departments and disciplines. There has been networking and socializing between like-minded faculty. The idea to put to good use the time on hand through virtual means has given rise to a community learning program that has been mutually beneficial. Community learning in MCC through the MCCRC has helped in building resilience to the growing changes and challenges posed to higher educational institutions and plays a vital role in enriching the knowledge, skills and competencies of faculty in research.
I really want to express my gratitude to all those resource persons of MCCRC who shared their research experience with us. Through MCCRC, I could know the different type of journals, how to find the journals, their suitability for publications, impact factors, and how to be away from the predatory journals. Definitely build our confidence and promote us to do good research. Each and every day we are refining our research, and this is just encouragement for all of my colleagues as well as resource persons.
MCCRC has been very helpful to me in understanding the different types of databases which are available, the standard databases where we can publish our research ideas and journals. And also it has helped me to understand the dynamics of different predatory and cloned journals which can also steal our ideas and papers which are there. It has helped me in constructing my ideas into a research paper and an article, improved my scientific writing through various techniques which are taught in MCCRC. MCCRC has helped me understand that research is an integral part of our academic profile and we should keep on working, and it will make us better in our teaching every day.
Though I have been doing with the research since 2007, till date there were certain things which I wasn't aware of, especially regarding the journals, the predatory journals, then where to publish, and the way one should write an abstract, the scaffolding methodology. I have also asked some of my students, my research scholars, to attend the programs pertaining to the research colloquium, the various activities that have been taking place, and they have attended few workshops also, which has really been beneficial to all my research scholars too. I really would like to thank the organizers for having such a program and highlighting all the important points that one should know as a researcher and a teacher.
This journal selection guide and publishing toolkit, prepared as a publication of the MCCRC, is a repository and guide for faculty and research scholars, and is an ideal starting point to those who want to delve into the world of academic publishing. With a brief overview of scientific writing to a series of how to search for journals, the MCCRC team hopes that this toolkit will be helpful for researchers to publish in indexed journals. What began as a vision of our principal, Dr. Wilson, to improve the quality of research publication among faculty has now become a beautiful community learning forum targeting wholesome development of our college faculty.
Good evening, all. We are happy to have you here. We will start the program exactly at 7. We have 3 minutes now. Yeah, once again, good evening, all. Thank you for joining us for the 5-day MCCRC series on the art of proposal writing. Let us start this particular program with a word of prayer. I request Dr. Tabitha Durai, the Dean, Research and Development MCC, to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, Lord, for your blessings on our life. Today, as we begin this 5-day series on the art of proposal writing from MCC Research Colloquium, we ask for your presence and blessing throughout the sessions. Bless the resource persons and the participants. May our learnings bring glory and honor to your name. Bless every institution that is represented here, Lord. May your blessing rest on each of us. We ask this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I have the duty of welcoming you all to the 5-day series on the art of proposal writing. I welcome the principal of Madras College. In his busy schedule, he has joined, and I request him to share his introductory remarks, followed by I will share some of the instructions for the participants. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to join virtually. I wish to congratulate the MCC Research Community team. In the connecting workshop on how to draft a grant proposal. I think we are all in a deep dispensation where whatever new ideas that you develop becomes money. So if you want to stabilize your institution, convert all your ideas, process that in one organization that will support the institution. At the same time, you can do good research with adequate funding support institution. So what we find is that there are many who have ideas, but they are not able to articulate the ideas in a systematic way, the way the university expects them to articulate those ideas. So we are not able to get the grants from funding agencies because of this particular skill that is lacking among the faculty members. So I'm sure that the kind of module that the Madras State College of Research Colloquium was developed out of their experience in drafting grant proposals would definitely add value in building capacity among the faculty members, where you would be able to try your hands in drafting good proposals and fetching money from the institution and for your personal use too. So sure, like as of now, I see more than 300 joined, and I also heard that the response was really good. Where around 700, 900 registered themselves. So, and MCCRC has offered this workshop free of cost. So that shows our charity, and that shows our ability, our aim to reach out to the community in building capacity and creating awareness among the faculty members of various arts and science colleges and engineering colleges. So I'm sure you will get benefited by the talks that are delivered here, the lectures that are delivered here from this workshop virtually. And we also want to engage with the MCC Research Colloquium subsequently this training program. And in case you require our team to come to your institution in a physical way and to engage with you, please take this as an awareness, because being virtual program, it may not be much, but from awareness creation. But if you really want to take up a request and send it across to us, we will help you by sending our team to your institution through your principal. If the request is sent, we'll help you out in further engaging with you till the point of creating capacity where you would be able to draft proposals and send it across to funding agencies. So thank you so much for inviting me, MCCRC team, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. We have just reached 430 participants, and many are now just joining. I just want to give an overview about the particular venture that we are in. We have with us 5 speakers. All of them has got research funding from different resources like funding agencies. So all the speakers are going to share their experience, how they got the funding. So that is very, very important, because from their experience we could learn, and we have a right combination of 2% from arts and humanities, 2 from a science, and the 5th day we are going to have how to get funding from agencies for our conferences, workshops, and FDPs and so on. So all 5 days you are going to learn how to write a research proposal to get a successful research proposal in hand to get funding from funding agencies. So I suggest that everyone should be a part of this 5-day, and as mentioned in the flyer, you will be eligible to get the certificate only when you attend at least 4 days of the program. So 80% attendance is mandatory, and the feedback link will be shared only in the WhatsApp group. If you are not part of the WhatsApp group, you will not get the feedback link. So please do join the WhatsApp group. I'll also share the join link in the chat box so that you can join if you are not part of the WhatsApp group. And daily feedback is essential. That will be counted as attendance. For your information, please, the attendance link will be closed by 10 p.m. every day. So we want you to attend the entire program, and you want to get benefit of that. So without further delay, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Chinamuthu, who will be introducing the speaker of the day. Over to Dr. Chinamuthu. So it's just a minute. Yeah, now you can unmute.
Yeah,
So,
yes, sir. Am I audible to you?
yeah, yes.
Yes. Very good evening to one and all present in this online 5-day series of research proposal writing. And it's really an honor and privilege for me to introduce today's day one speaker, Dr. S. Kalyani Madam, who's serving as an assistant professor in the Department of Public Administration, MCC. Ma'am is also currently serving as Associate Dean of Research and Development. Ma'am is a very right person to kickstart today's program because she got several funding from both central and state government and also currently working in several research proposals. Notably, her area of expertise is rural development, gender issues, human rights, and especially marginalized communities. So far, ma'am has got projects from ICSSR and also World Bank funded state government projects. She has a significant number of presentations as well as publications in reputed journals and also in several conferences and seminars. And ma'am is very suitable for today's presentation because even to be very honest, I've started preparing research proposals and I've learned several basic concepts from only from ma'am. And she is quite senior to me in research proposal writing. And she's very good enough to present the proposal writing for both minor as well as for major projects in the area of social science. So she is an accomplished academic and dedicated social researcher with extensive expertise in the area of public administration. And her strong focus is going to be reflected in her proposals, which she is going to explain today. So without much delay, I hand over today's session to Madam Kalyani to just kickstart the day one program in the topic from idea to impact, mastering the art of proposal writing. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Chinnamuthu. A very good evening to one and all present here. Today's session is going to be on from idea to impact, mastering the art of proposal writing. As the topic itself would suggest that today we are going to see the main components of a proposal and how do we have to start from an idea and end up in writing a proposal to a funding agency. So this is the outline of my talk. So here we will be talking about the major contents of a proposal, how to generate an idea, choosing a research area, developing a methodology, strong methodology, the proposal contents, best practices in grant writing, and the major projects sanctioned, and the overview of funding agencies. What are the main components of the proposal? So before showing this, let me show you a proposal which was submitted in the year 2023 and it was granted in the year 2024. We completed this project and we have submitted the final report. So this is the project that was submitted to Indian Council of Social Science Research. So what are the major components of a research proposal? You need to have an abstract, then introduction of the proposed study, major research works reviewed, international and national, not less than 15 to 20 important works.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible, right? You are in the PPT. Are you sharing PPT or you are showing that?
I'm sharing a Word document, sir.
Just to stop sharing. No. You just stop sharing and then share the Word document. Or share the entire screen.
Entire screen, sir. Now is it visible, sir?
Just a minute. It's loading. Yeah, you can start from the top because we are seeing that. Please.
So this is the minor project that was submitted to Indian Council for Social Science Research in the year 2024. So the major components of a research proposal would be the title of the research proposal, the abstract, which you have to write in 300 words. The introduction of the proposed study, you need to introduce the topic. Review of literature, you need to review major works, international and national, not less than 15 to 20 important works. The identification of research gap, for 300 words. Objectives of the proposed study, major research questions, hypothesis, proposed methodology for the research work, the sample design, the calculation of sample size, the sampling method, the statistical view, the techniques, innovation and path-breaking aspects of the proposed research, the expected output, such as the papers in journals, edited book, policy papers, document, data set, and any new data to be generated where data deficiency is felt, the relevance of the proposed study for the policy making, relevance of the proposed study for society, and the milestones for each quarter of the study, and finally we have the budget. So this is what are the main components of a research proposal that will be submitted to a funding agency. Maybe any kind of funding agency, these are the major components that will be a part of the proposal. So generating and refining a research idea. How to generate and refine a research idea? You need to first analyze a call. So you need to carefully read the call for proposals to understand the specific objectives and the thematic priorities of the funding agency. Say suppose for a call on social and economic impact of digital literacy program on rural women, your key focus would be on the long-term tangible outcomes of these initiatives. So what is going to be your long-term outcome, and what are the tangible outcomes of the initiative if you're going to do this project? It's not only about the socio-economic impact of digital literacy programs, but what exactly are you going to, what exactly your outcome of the proposal is going to be with respect to its long-term benefits and the tangible outcomes of the initiatives. Okay, then you need to brainstorm ideas. So you will have to connect your expertise. Maybe you might be expert in gender studies or rural development. So you will have to connect your existing expertise in the theme that you have chosen to write your proposal. It can be a qualitative or a quantitative analysis, but it should be according to the requirements of the call. So you might think about a project that evaluates the government-sponsored digital literacy program that you've been following. So this you will get only out of brainstorming your ideas. Next is the literature review. You need to conduct a focused preliminary literature review to identify the existing knowledge gap. So we will identify our research gap only when we complete our literature review. Your search will only reveal that when you talk about the topic that we have taken into consideration. So you will have to focus on a significant gap in research that is actually measuring here with respect to this topic. It must measure the actual economic changes in women's life with respect to increased income or any new business ventures. So that gap has to be identified, and that literature review will enable you to do a gap analysis. Define the core area. So you will have to now filter out the concepts that are only loosely related. Okay, you have to decide to narrow down your focus from the broad impact to specific area of economic empowerment. So it is not just socio-economic impact, but within the impact you are going to talk about the economic empowerment, which will align perfectly with the funding agency's mission. So this will have an opportunity to identify your main area and also refine your core idea that, with respect to the funding agency's perspective. It is your interest. Now you are able to collaborate your interest with the funding agency perspective. Develop a research question. So what is a more effective question with regard to this particular problem that we have identified? To what extent does participation in the digital India literacy program correlate with increased economic autonomy and livelihood diversification among rural women in the states of Bihar and Jharkhand? So if you want to take only specific states where you had found from your literature review that this particular area has to be addressed, then that will be your research question. So this will enable you to create so your research question, if you see this question, it is very clear, it is very concise, and it is actually a compelling question. So here you're not giving a research question which is very vague. What are the impacts? So what is more effective question is you have to be more clear and concise. So what is the extent of participation in Digital India program, written program? So you will be more specific with regard to your research question. Assess the feasibility, consider the necessary budget, timeline, and resources. So you need to confirm that you are able to complete your research with the budget, with the timeline, and with the resources that should be aligned to the problem that you have chosen. So a minor project is for 1 year and a major project is for 2 years. So the proposed timeline of 2 years should be actually realistic for you to study the problem. Then outline the project. So you will have to create a logical, a logical proposal, a narrative proposal. So your outline would be, it can be a mixed method approach wherein you want to combine quantitative surveys, or wherein that quantitative surveys will allow you to measure the income changes. That is what is our research focus on, with qualitative interviews. So we are going to have a mixed method approach where we are going to conduct quantitative survey and the qualitative interviews. So qualitative interviews, we will try to understand the personal stories of the women, and this expected outcomes would include the policy recommendations. So this policy recommendations for making the program more effective with regard to creating economic opportunities. Then seek feedback. So get input on your refined idea. Now you have got an idea and the project outline. So get see feedback from your colleagues, a senior mentor. They might suggest adding a section with respect to, here you're talking only with regard to economic, a particular section of cultural barriers can also be added, which will make your proposal more comprehensive and robust. Okay, so choose an area, research area that interests you and the funding agency. So the first step that you would do is, say suppose the topic of research should interest you and the funding agency, and it should not remain individualistic. If you are interested in urban slum research, what you would do is you will actually review literature on urban slum papers. So from those papers, you will choose a research paper that interests you. So you will start by exploring the published work in areas that you are interested, that you are passionate about. So for funding, you need to pick topics that are aligned with the funding agency's priority areas. Some of the priority areas that is linked with your problem that you have identified, and with the respect, and also with the literature that you are reviewing. The priority areas are already mentioned in the website. So any organization which is calling for proposals will have its priority areas. It can be health, or urban development, or environment, or education. So you need to pick topics that are aligning with your funding agency's priority areas. Then read through and choose keywords. So you have to carefully, now you are choosing a research paper that is interesting you. Now you need to carefully study the paper, and you will try to extract the keywords. Like from urban development, you will try to take urban slum health, sanitation, waste management. So these keywords you will try to read through from the paper that is interesting you. And these keywords will help you to search related works. And also it will make you to understand the current research landscape with regard to the keywords that you have identified. Search for papers based on the keyword. Now you have identified keywords. Now you're going to search for papers based on keywords. Now you will use various databases like Scopus Index and Google Scholar to find the more recent studies. Okay, so the funding agencies always look for up-to-date awareness of the field. So your literature should always be updated. It should not be outdated. You will have to review as many papers as possible, and also all those papers should be updated. So, establish the fundamentals followed. So you will have to identify the standard methods, the models or frameworks that are actually commonly used in the field that you have identified. So if you're in your project proposal, you can mention about that your approach, it is going to build up some foundation. It is going to add credibility. So this the fundamentals that when you establish the fundamentals, certain models, certain theories, certain framework, that will enable the funding agency to see that your proposal is going to be, your approach is based on some foundation. It is adding some kind of credibility. Dig deeper on the topics. So digging deeper on the topics, you will find gaps, you will find any unanswered questions in the literature. So a strong funding proposal should, it shows that you know the problem inside out, you know everything about the problem. There is nothing that is left by you with regard to the problem. Identify the research gap. Identify the research gap that interests the funders. So this is very crucial for funding. Agencies are most interested in research that is solving a real world problem. Okay, that is aligning with your mission, that is aligning with the policies. Okay, that is able to bring some kind of a societal or a technological impact. So that kind of a research gap should be identified, and that identification of the research gap should be interesting to the funders also. Then you will arrive at the research problem. Now you will clearly define your problem statement. What is missing, why it is important, who benefited. So this problem will be more specific, it will be measurable, and it is also worthy enough to be funded by the funding agency. Then you will frame the research topic. So now converting the problem into a project proposal with a clear, you are in a position to give a clear title and objectives. So instead of urban slum and health, you can talk about innovative wastewater treatment solution to reduce any kind of diseases in urban slums. So you are actually framing a more specific research problem. Choose a multidisciplinary research. So why multidisciplinary research? So multidisciplinary research is needed. It is a need of an art. It is needed to solve many, okay, if not major research challenges, at least many research areas can be covered by using a multidisciplinary approach. So what are the perks of a multidisciplinary approach? So it enhances the vision of researchers on their own discipline and adds insights on other disciplines. Okay, so looking at a problem from a multidisciplinary perspective, it will try to deepen your understanding, it widens your understanding. Say suppose, say for example, a psychiatrist is studying about addiction. He can gain an insight by considering, its effect on education, its effect on family systems, or even workplace productivity. So here we are trying to, we are widening the vision of the researcher. So it is not only a psychiatrist studying about addiction, but he is also getting its effect on education, the family system, and the workplace where he or she is working. It leads to collaboration. So multidisciplinary projects bring together experts from various domains. Okay, so funding bodies like this, since collaboration increases quality, reliability, and the outcomes are scalable. You can have scalable outcomes. So collaboration is always effective. You are able to collaborate with different domains. Incredible possibility of scientific innovation. So crossing disciplines often creates new solutions. So your scientific innovations, whatever you are, the scientific result is something new, solutions that you are bringing into the problem. Okay, increases the chance of approval and grant distribution. So funders often, set aside special grants for interdisciplinary research because it is allowing innovation and it is having a wider applicability. So if your project touches multiple disciplines, it appeals to multiple reviewers and funding streams. So how can we frame an interdisciplinary topic? Additions, psychiatry, and impact on academic performance, education. That is what was an example that I gave already. COVID-19, lockdown, public health, and its impact on usage of e-governance, which is political science. So this is combining mental health research with educational outcomes, and this could interest both mental and education funding agencies. So this is another example: urban heat islands and their socio-economic impacts. An interdisciplinary approach to climate resilience. So what are the different disciplines that are related to this topic? Environmental science, urban planning and architecture, sociology, economics, public health, and public policy studies. So in one topic, we are able to relate nearly 6 disciplines. So 6 disciplines wherein we are giving a wider scope to the funding agency, and we are actually broadening also the scope for funding. Identify the research gap. So what is a research gap? A research gap is a topic or an area for which there is some information is missing or some information is insufficient, okay, and that is actually limiting the researcher to arrive at a conclusion for a particular research question. So preferably you should identify at least a minimum of 3 gaps. So how will you look for research gap? And number one is lack or insufficient studies. So some areas might have not been studied enough. There's some areas while reading the literature, you would have come to know that it would signal you that there is a need for more research. So a few studies on mental health of adolescents in rural areas. So while studying the literature, you would have come to know that this particular area has not been touched at all, and but mental health might have been touched, but with regard to mental health of adolescents in rural areas might have not been studied enough. So there is a need for more research in this area. Lack of knowledge and conclusion. So even when studies exist, they are not in a position to provide a clear result or any strong conclusion. You are not able to arrive at clear results or strong conclusion. But there are studies existing. And the third one is there are contradictory results in papers of similar research problems. So different researchers are studying the same problem, but sometimes they report opposite results or inconsistent results. So this inconsistency itself is a research gap. When there are contradictory results itself is a research gap, which is worth exploring as a new research topic. Look for limitations and recommendations of previous studies. So authors often mention limitations in their paper. Maybe it can be related to sample size, or it can be related to restricted to one particular region, and they give future research recommendations in their paper itself. So these suggestions are starting points for identifying your gaps. Okay, so why we need to at least find the 3 research gaps? It is actually it shows that you have done some background research, okay, and you are actually convincing the funder that your project is necessary, your proposal is necessary, your problem is necessary, and it is original. Okay, now this is how you will have to look at how do you have to view your research problem? You will have to look at the published literatures. So agencies actually want to fund projects that are real and unsolved problems. So something which is novel. So your published literature will enable you to find out your research gap. So your work is going to be novel because you have identified the research gap looking into the published material, looking into the published literature. So you will have to start collecting research papers, books, articles, reports. Okay, this gives you an idea of what has been already studied. So while reading this, you will come to know that which is already studied, we are not going to take that into consideration, but you will only try to identify the research gap that which you are studying. And study each of the research questions. So you will have to carefully read and analyze how other researchers have framed and answered the research questions. And this will help you to understand the different perspectives and approaches. So then make your questions a note. So while reviewing, note down your questions, note down your own questions or the gaps that you notice. So these questions may guide your research later. Next is look for answers to your question. So see if the literature you are reviewing already provides answer or partial explanation to the questions that you have noted down earlier. Okay. If not, those unanswered areas will become your research opportunity. That will become your potential research area. Okay. Then finally, you will have to identify unanswered or contradictory research. So finally, find areas where research is incomplete. It is unanswered. It is incomplete. It is inconsistent. That is what we saw in the previous slide. Or where scholars are having conflicting results, or they are disagreeing. The scholars are disagreeing. So these are actually valuable for you to build your own research since they are pointing out gaps in the existing knowledge. Develop a strong methodology. Okay, use a quantitative research approach when you want to test or confirm a hypothesis. So when you have a hypothesis, you want to test it and you want to confirm your hypothesis. Either you will accept or reject your hypothesis. So in that case, what you will do, you will start with a quantitative research. So does smoking causes cancer? What is the prevalence of open air defecation among rural dwellers? So all this, you have a hypothesis. You have a hypothesis that smoking causes cancer, and you have a hypothesis that there is prevalence of open air defecation among rural dwellers. So you are going to test or you're going to confirm this hypothesis. For this, you're going to undertake a quantitative research. Choose a qualitative research approach when you want to understand a concept, thought, or experience. So you want to understand a concept which has not been dealt so far, which has not been studied in depth. Okay, and you want to understand a thought or an experience. So you want, for that, you can take into consideration the examples such as, why do individuals take up the manual scavenging as a livelihood? Okay, why do individuals still take up manual scavenging as a livelihood? There is no, you have not understood as to why do they take this still as a profession. And what is the mental status of children with physical disabilities? Here you want to understand an experience. Okay, you can conduct a phenomenological study where you can talk this with the real-time experiences of parents who are having children with physical disabilities. So you can conduct a qualitative approach. Use a mixed methodology study when you want to combine rich insights with statistics. Now you are doing a mixed methodology study where you are combining both quantitative and qualitative studies. So what is the number of public health services and their perceptions, level of awareness and knowledge of laws supporting elderly and their willingness to avail the benefits? So you will do a quantitative study to know the number of users of public health services, and you will do a qualitative study to know their perceptions, the level of awareness and knowledge of laws that are supporting the elderly and their willingness to avail the benefits. And when we talk about a strong methodology, your methodology should also include the study population, the sampling size, why you are doing and how you are doing your research. The sampling technique, what is the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the study location, the study duration, what are the tools, the monitoring and evaluation plan, analysis and reporting. All this should be a part of your methodology. So this is going to make your methodology strong and giving scope for funding. So talking about the main components of a research proposal, let us take into consideration a particular topic wherein we have identified the mixed methods evaluation of the impact of online learning on educational outcomes in rural areas, challenges and opportunities. So what should an abstract contain? An abstract should contain background, the context, the research problem or objective, and the methodology. Okay, and also the key focus and the expected outcome. These are the major points that we are going to take into consideration for writing the abstract. So here, the background and the background of the context of this particular problem that you have identified to study, what you will write, there is a rapid rise of online learning. Okay, the rapid rise of online learning has actually transformed education globally, offering new opportunities for students in remote and unreserved areas. However, the implementation of online education in rural region remains a challenge due to various infrastructural and socio-economic barriers. So you are actually giving a background of the study. Okay, so what is the context of study? What is the background of the study? There is a rise in online learning, but with respect to the implementation, there is a challenge. The challenge with respect to the where we are facing the challenges with respect to infrastructural and socio-economic barriers. So initially, you will try to talk about the background of the problem, then the research problem. So the study is investigating the impact of online learning on education outcomes in rural areas, focusing on the challenges students face in accessing online education. So this and also this is the main objective, the primary objective or the research problem that you have taken into study. So this also will be a part of your abstract, wherein you will talk about the background, the objective, the methodology. So what method are you going to use? You're going to use a mixed method approach, wherein you're going to combine quantitative survey of rural students with qualitative interviews of educators and policymakers. What is the key focus? So here the key focus is, we have already seen what is the key focus here. The focus is going to be on the infrastructural challenges and the socio-economic barriers. So here, what are the challenges? It can be internet access, or it can be lack of the opportunities, digital access, okay, and the teacher training with regard to employment of these online methods. All this will be the key focus areas. Next is the expected outcome is, you are going to provide policy recommendation for improving the rural education through online platforms. So this is going to be the expected outcome of your research. So all this will be a part of your abstract. Overview of the topic. Now we have completed the abstract. Now we are going to give an introduction about the topic. In this, you will talk about the overview of the topic. Here you can talk about how online learning is being emerging or has emerged as a tool for giving education beyond the traditional classrooms. How it had changed the entire education system. Okay, with the advancement of digital infrastructure and availability of internet devices and the online education platforms, how it rapidly expanded and how it is giving new opportunities for reaching out to students. Geography, they can be in any geographical area, but we are able to educate them. So this actually happened after COVID-19, which has actually forced the education system and the education institutions to adopt such practices. So this has led to the growth of online education platforms. So you can here also, you can talk about how there is a challenge in rural areas. So in the urban areas, they are able to quickly adopt it, but in the rural areas there are certain challenges which is actually not allowing the online education to be implemented in an effective manner. So here your study is trying to bridge the it is actually seeking to bridge that you want to that the knowledge gap by how you are actually evaluating the effectiveness, challenges, and the potential of online learning in rural areas. So here you are using a mixed method approach that is actually combining a quantitative and a quantitative surveys and qualitative interviews. Historical or theoretical background. Now now you have given an overview of the topic. Now you will relate to any theory. You can identify any theory with regard to here, because we are talking about urban and rural. So you can check for theories for any digital divide theory, equity in education framework. Okay, any theories that are already available that would and that are relating to factors such as socioeconomic status, infrastructure availability, and theories that are there with regard to digital literacy and which is having an influence on the effectiveness of online education. So these theoretical perspectives will guide the research in investigating or examining both the positive and the negative, the positive side and the limitations of online learning for the rural learners. So again, in the introduction of the proposed study. So here again, you will talk about introduction of the proposed study. Here again, you will talk about the background and the context, the problem statement, the significance of the problem. So there, what you have written in your abstract, here you will give a detailed explanation about the background, the problem statement, and the significance of the problem. So you will say that addressing these disparities is critical to ensure that all students, regardless of their geographical location, can access quality education. Bridging the digital divide is essential for fostering equity in learning and promoting economic and social development in rural communities. So you are here, what you are doing, you are introducing the background, you're stating the problem, and also you are actually telling how significant is the problem. So with regard to rural education, how it is suffering from infrastructure and teacher shortages. So now online education is emerging more, it is fastly growing, but still we have some challenges in the rural areas. Review of literature. So major reviews that you have undertaken. Okay, so this usually they ask for about 500 to 600 words. So what literature says about the barriers to online education in rural areas, and why does it matter? Why this? What actually it is giving? Whether it is giving a broad understanding with regard to the socio-economic barriers, whether it is setting the stage for allowing the researcher to examine the problem with respect to India's context. Okay, so all this only when you go through the literature, you will be in a position to understand the problem more. And what are the studies that are undertaken by UNESCO? What literature says with regard to where the UNESCO has conducted any multiple studies, okay, highlighting the students in rural and highlighting the students in rural and in urban areas during the pandemic 19. So this you will have to include the issues that you have identified when you review the literature. Innovative solutions for bridging the digital divide. What the literature says with regard to the outcomes. So what are the platforms that succeed actually in improving the literacy rate? So what are the innovative solutions that can be brought in for bridging this digital divide with respect to urban and rural disparity? The state of online learning in rural India. Okay, so what is Indian studies talking about? How does it highlight the gap? How does it, whether there is a persistent gap? Okay, what are the different, where exactly when we talk about infrastructure, what is the devices that are the rural people are lacking? Okay, so rural households, whether the internet facility, whether they are having access to internet facility, whether they are having reliable electricity, all this can be studied with respect to the online learning in rural India, and what are the government initiatives and policy efforts in India. So there are initiatives by the government like Digital India, the new education policy of 2020, the SWAYAM. All this is actually aiming to expand the digital education, but definitely we can see that there is gap in implementation. There is gap with regard to inclusivity and how this can be monitored. So these policies show that government recognition of this digital, government is recognizing that there is a digital divide, and it is also providing a framework. But whether these are effective in practice, that is what we are going to study. Identification of the research gap. So limited research, identification of research gap here, limited research on rural specific online learning models, inadequate examination of socio-economic and cultural factors. Most of the studies on online education are urban centric. It may be urban centric. It would have been done in well-resourced schools. How effective it is in order to give show the result that online learning is very effective on with respect to school education, with respect to college education. So they would have taken only they would have conducted studies on areas where the schools are well resourced, but rural areas, they are often facing challenges. Okay, but there is little research on any kind of there might be models that have designed, but these models are they designed specifically for rural areas, or the models that are designed, or the models that are designed, does it actually reach the people in rural areas? So here you are highlighting the gap. Inadequate examination of socioeconomic and cultural factors, a lack of focus on long-term education outcomes, limited solutions for enhancing digital literacy in rural teachers, insufficient exploration of hybrid learning models. So there is insufficient exploration of hybrid learning models because purely online models are impractical in rural areas. So, and blended or hybrid approaches, that is more feasible, but there is little research on how hybrid models can be designed, how it can be implemented, how it can be effective in rural education system. This and all is the research gap. And there is also policy implementation gap with respect to the policies that we have already studied in the literature, the Digital India, the NEP 2020 and the SWAYAM, all those policies we have studied. Now we will identify what is the research gap with respect to the government who has introduced the policy and who have implemented it. And what are the objectives of the proposed study? To assess the effectiveness of online learning, to evaluate the extent to which students in rural areas have access, whether it is effective, whether online learning is effective in rural settings. So you will identify the key barriers. So what are the economic barriers? What are the cultural barriers or technological barriers, pedagogical barriers? What are the key barriers that are identified in the as your objective? To explore opportunities for improving outcomes through digital means, to provide data-backed recommendations to policymakers and institutions. The outcome of the research is how are you going to give policy recommendations to the government and to the institutions. Research questions. So these are the research questions. What are the primary technology? So based on our objectives, we are going to frame our research questions with respect to the barriers, with respect to lack of infrastructure, and with respect to the role of rural educators playing what kind of role do they play in facilitating online learning? Because ours is a mixed methodology study, so we will also conduct interviews with rural educators to know what is their role in facilitating. So because quantitative surveys can be done with respect to what are the challenges, but qualitative interviews will be done in order to know the role of the rural educators in effectively implementing the government schemes. So based on our research questions, we will frame our hypothesis. So all are interconnected. If you see from the beginning, our problem statement, objectives, okay, our research questions, everything is interconnected. The identification of research gap is allowing you to arrive at your problem, and the objectives, research questions, all are interconnected. So once when we frame our objectives, we'll be in a position to write our research questions and the hypothesis. So rural students face significant technological, socio-economic, and cultural barriers that hinder their ability to access and benefit from online learning platforms. So this hypothesis, if you see, it is assuming that challenges are not only technological but also socio-economic and cultural, the traditional attitudes that are prevailing towards the digital learning. Then we have the next is the lack of sufficient infrastructure in rural areas negatively affects the educational outcomes of students participating in online learning. So this hypothesis is linking with the infrastructure gaps that are directly related to the educational outcomes, the infrastructural gap and to the educational outcomes. So the educational outcomes can be things like academic performance, the retention of students, and the engagement of students. So this it is trying to suggest that reliable infrastructure should be there for better engagement of students. Rural educators with higher levels of digital literacy are more effective in facilitating online learning, leading to better educational outcomes for their students. So this hypothesis is focusing on the teacher factor. So even if technology is available, teacher preparedness, okay, only will determine how effective online platforms are used. So teachers should have better digital skills. They need to know to use the online tools. They will have to have they should try to engage the students, provide them support. So all this will improve the learning outcome. Proposed methodology. So the research design is a sequential, explanatory, mixed method design. Quantitative phase. Quantitative data will first you collect quantitative data that will first provide you the broad patterns about online learning with respect to how it is being accessed, what is the usage, what is the educational outcomes. Then you go to the qualitative data. That qualitative data will explain and explore and contextualize these patterns. What are the understanding the deeper the insights into the barriers, the teacher preparedness, what we saw earlier, and the socio-cultural factors. So this design ensures that the numerical trends and the lived experiences in rural education are studied in depth. So it is giving you a richer insight when you combine a mixed method study. Innovation and path-breaking aspects of the proposed literature. So what is innovative in your research? So how are you going to tell your funding agency that your research is innovative? And what is the path-breaking aspect? One is mixed methodology. Why it is innovative? Because most studies on online learning would have been done in a quantitative approach. They might have used a quantitative approach. Okay, it might be on a survey based or only qualitative. There might be some case studies. But here, what are you doing? You are telling that it is innovative, wherein you are trying to combine both the qualitative and quantitative study. You are combining both the you are adopting a mixed method design. and focus on rural specific context. So this is also an innovative point. You can tell that by focusing specifically on rural area, your study is trying to address a gap that you have already identified, the research gap. So that research gap has allowed you to study this, and it is rural specific, and there are unique challenges that has been identified by you. So cultural factors, socioeconomic constraint, infrastructure deficit, all this have not been explored. It is underexplored. So that in that way, your research is innovative. Assessment of hybrid learning models. So while most of the studies look fully on online education, rural areas, it is not able to sustain it due to its connectivity. So your study is actually exploring the hybrid or the blended learning models, a mix of offline and online plus face-to-face methods. So this could be more practical, and it is a scalable solution for the rural context. So this assessment itself is introducing a new pathway for education policy and practice. Teacher preparedness and digital learning models. So as we also saw, what is the role of educators? So how does the research is not only focusing on students, but it is also focusing on teachers. Okay, how the teachers are prepared. So whether teacher training is given, whether the teachers are confident, all this is also being an innovation. Integration of policy analysis. So many academic studies stop with finding the data without linking them to the policy, but here you are linking it with the policy. Emphasizes on socio-economic and cultural factors. That is also innovative. So digital learning studies are technology focused, but here you are focusing on socio-economic barriers, cultural factors, and development of actionable recommendations. So so many studies, if you see, they conclude with some abstract suggestions, recommendations, but you are able to give some concrete, some evidence-based recommendations especially for policymakers, for educators, for rural communities. Expected output, research papers. So when you get a fund, when you are doing a minor or a major project, it is mandatory for the project investigator to publish a paper. Okay, it is mandatory. Make sure that you publish at least 1 or 2 papers in peer-reviewed journals based on your study findings, wherein you will have to acknowledge the funding agency. So wherever you are publishing, you have to make sure that this project has been granted by such and such funding agency. So that is actually good for you and for the funding agency. So here you are able to publish, and you are able to finish a project that is sanctioned by a funding agency. Edited book. So this publication can happen with regard to you can submit research papers. You can give a compiled volume of an edited book, with the contribution from other scholars if possible. Okay, and on the topic that we have identified, the digital learning in rural context. So the book will include theoretical framework. It can include case studies and innovative practices with respect to India and the global practices. Policy papers, okay, evidence-based policy paper, concise evidence-based policy papers where it is giving practical recommendation to policymakers on the digital infrastructure. Data sets. So whatever data set that you have got from your surveys, from your interviews and focus group discussion, all this are a data set. So that can be archived, that will be submitted to the funding agency. Okay, that is made available for future academic use. Okay, so ensuring that there is ethical approval and consent. Conferences and presentation. You can present your findings in your conferences and seminars. You can focus on both the national and international conferences, specifically with regard to education, rural development, with regard to something which is for at the national level. You can focus on policy. You can focus on education. Any new data to be generated where data deficiency is felt. So there is technological access and barrier. So data deficiency is where most available statistics on digital access are very broad. The aggregates will be there, national level aggregates. They don't actually have a clear picture of what is the village level reality. Okay. okay, or the gender differences, or the teacher-student perceptions. All this might have not been included. Okay, so this is a new data that you have generated. Okay, there is a data deficiency, and you have generated a new data with respect to technological access, with respect to socio-economic and cultural barriers. Okay, so beyond infrastructure, you are also talking about socio-economic barriers like poverty, like gender, caste dynamics. Okay, and what is the local culture that is influencing online learning. All these are new data that you have generated. The teacher preparedness. Okay, many reports would have highlighted teacher training programs, but here you have empirical data on teachers in rural areas. Okay, how they are trained, what is the digital literacy of teachers, okay, how they are able to use the actual platforms, online platforms, and what is the that is a new data. Educational outcomes. Okay, it is short-term outcomes would have been there, but here you are having actually having a long-term outcome, because you are able to provide policy recommendations. So the actual learning gains, the retention or the skill building with respect to the students and the teachers in online, in the rural online context is an educational outcome. So relevance of the proposed study for policy making. So your study is actually proposing recommendations, suggestions for policy making. So informed policy on digital infrastructure. Your study will generate evidence on the connectivity gaps, device availability, any rural specific barriers. Okay, so this can guide the policymakers in prioritizing their investment with respect to the results that you have, with respect to the data and the results that you have arrived at. Targeted training for rural educators. So findings, what have you found with regard to the teachers' digital literacy and their adaptability? This can inform policy for a kind of a professional development can happen among the teachers. Equitable access to education. So who benefits and who is excluded, who is benefiting and who is excluded. So this is actually shown by your research. So from whether it is first generation learners or it is poor households, or the girls are being excluded, whether there is equitable access to education. Okay, hybrid learning models. So you're examining the challenges of fully online models. So your research is actually advocating blended or hybrid approaches. Implementation of government initiatives, the policies that we already saw with regard to SWAYAM, NEP 2020, okay, digital literacy programs. So this is relevant to policy making. So the policy makers can use your findings, which is actually data driven. They can make adjustments and ensure that they are actually benefiting the rural learners. What is the relevance of the proposed study for the society? So improving access to quality education. So online learning can help overcome the barriers of the distance, the lack of infrastructure, the shortage of teachers in rural areas. So it is actually improving the access to quality education. It is promoting socioeconomic mobility, upward mobility. It is actually education is driving towards an upward mobility, wherein where rural learners are able to gain access to online education. Okay, empowering teachers and communities. So these online platforms, digital tools are empowering teachers by enhancing their skills, methods that they use for engaging the students. The confidence level is increased. Okay, reducing educational inequality, then strengthening community resilience. So online education builds resilience in communities, okay, by ensuring that there is continuity in learning, even during pandemics or even during natural disaster. Okay, the learning is happening without any disruption. So what is novel in your research? So novel, you will have to also tell your funding agency that your research is novel, new in your process. Okay, the methodology that you have used, mixed methods approach, the sequential explanatory mixed method design, all this are new. It is something novel. Novelty will largely depend on your in-depth knowledge of the field. So your novelty is lying in what? The identification of gap. That is only allowing you to have an in-depth knowledge in the field. So you have identified a gap in the current literature, and that is enabling you to have an in-depth knowledge of the problem that you have identified. So by showing what has not been done, you are positioning your study as a response for what has not been done. Do not use old theory of or models. So instead of using the same theories, you will have to integrate. You should have a framework. Don't use old theories, okay, or don't retest the theories or models that are already in existence. Do not base your research on previously published data. So you are generating fresh primary data, okay, through surveys, through interviews. Okay, so this is novel. So this is novel because most of the studies might have been on secondary reports, but your research is on primary data. Avoid well-researched topics. Online education has been widely used in urban, but in rural India, how your topic is going to be novel. So your focus is on rural specific context. So it is actually giving a novelty. It is a novel feature. Choose a lately added domain. Okay, news channel, 2024 published papers. Okay, so you can use the policy documents, 2023-24 policy documents, UNESCO updates, recent journal articles. That will enable you to ground your study in the latest debate and the latest evidence. New weightage. So novelty also comes from your weightage, the new emphasis, the instead of the multi-dimensional approach, the different factors that you have taken into consideration, not only the technological but also the various socio-economic, the cultural, the pedagogical, all these barriers you have taken into. So that is giving a new weightage. And contribution to the society during and post completion of the project. So during research, how you are able to contribute to the society, you are able to engage with the rural schools, teachers, communities, and post completion, you are able to provide policy recommendations. And this is actually ensuring that it is practically and socially impactful, the research that you have identified. So what are the best practices? These were the tips that we already saw. All those are the tips that we will take into consideration for choosing a winning research project. Choose a research project that interests you and the funding agency. You might have an interest in a particular area, but you will have to integrate your interest with the funding agency's interest by aligning your interest with the themes that have been that is there in the funding agency, that is there in the call for proposals. You scan through previously sanctioned copies for your respective state in the funding agency website. So before writing a proposal, make sure that you go to the website, see what has been already sanctioned by the funding agency in the previous years. This will enable you to get an idea of what are the major themes that are identified, the potential themes that are being granted by the funding agency. So based on that, those topics that have been already granted can be taken, and those keywords can be taken from the topic, and that keywords can be used for you to identify the research gap. So so that will enable you to know what the funding agency actually expects from you. So instead of so that is how you will try to integrate your interest with the funding agency interest. Choose from latest editions and emerging areas. Okay, always update your literature. Choose a multidisciplinary topic. We already saw that. Identify the research gap. Your research problem should be novel. You will have to justify how novel is your research problem. Have a strong methodology. Stick to the funding agency proposal format. Don't go beyond what is required. Stick to what exactly the funding agency requires. So develop a grant writing plan. Even before now, you will have to plan. You will have to go to the website and see what are the different subheadings that are there in the format. So go according to the format. So you will have to stick to the funding agency format. So you will have to plan your grant in such a way that all the subheadings that are there in the proposal are a part of your writing. Okay, use a team approach instead of individuals. So when we talk about a multidisciplinary approach, it is not you alone in the project, but you are also allowing other disciplines to incorporate. You are incorporating other disciplines. You are collaborating with other disciplines. So you are having a multidisciplinary approach. In that, you are allowing other experts to be a part of your team. So in this way, it is a team approach. It is not an individual who is there, but it is a team approach. So the burden of writing the research itself is lessened. Less when it comes to the grant writing. So undertake a proper review of literature, include a monetary and evaluation plan. Always provide relevant up-to-date information. So in your research, all your in your proposal, all information that you provide must be up to date. and use pictures, charts, and graphics if it is permitted. If the funding agency says that you can, there is a limitation with regard to the number of words, and give the funder the 100% that they request. So these are the major projects that have been sanctioned in 2024-25. As I already told you, before writing a proposal, you can scan through the topics that have been already granted by the funding agency. That will enable you to get an idea. So that will enable you to generate your idea, redefine an idea, and that will also able to align your interest with the funding agency interest. So these are the various topics that have been awarded. Recent list. This is study of drug rehabilitation centers to achieve better de-addiction strategies, impact of self-help groups on entrepreneurship skills and quality of life, promoting mental health seeking behavior, and reducing mental health stigma among tribal adolescents. Okay, an insight into maternal mental health, a study of adolescent mothers in Odisha tribal communities, women workers in urban waste management in select southern cities in India. So these are the funding agencies, an overview of funding agencies. In the upcoming sessions, you will have a resource person talking on the various funding agencies that are available for sciences and social sciences. So these are we will have a run through of Ministry of Rural Development, Department of Science and Technology, National Commission for Women, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, we have an active call. You can go to the website. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we have an active call. Go to the website. Indian Council of Social Science Research, we have an active call. 15th October is the last date. And the funding agencies, Ministry of Culture, National Institute of Urban Affairs, National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, Defense Research and Development Organization, Department of Atomic Energy. So the sciences. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your extensive presentation. And dear participants, if you want to post any questions, you can kindly post it in the chat box. We will take some specific questions for another 5 minutes.
Participants can unmute yourself and ask question. You are enabled to ask question by unmute yourself.
Good morning, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am.
Actually, ICSSR call for project for science discipline also, but basically it is related on social work or environmental oriented topics. But if the chemistry or science people want to apply, because I applied 1 or 2 times, but I didn't get the funding. But it is related to the environmental part. So whether they mainly focus on which part in ICSSR?
Actually, ICSSR, it is actually social science research, Indian Council for Social Science Research, but you can undertake a multidisciplinary approach. Wherein you can involve science faculty also in your research proposal. Maybe how technology affects education. Okay, when you talk about technology and education, when we talk about you can also get the help of computer science people, by developing tools like that. Then how when you talk about how a climate change is trying to have an impact on livelihood, migration, you can take people's expertise from physics. How you are able to give a multidisciplinary approach. It is not then you can also
main focus is on social science.
Yes,
then
yes,
it's related to any other branch of sciences.
Themes are already there in the themes will be listed in the website, ma'am. But you can involve science people wherein they can also contribute to your research.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So there is a question in a chat box. As a new researcher, how to get a funded project? A few important tips, please.
The new researcher, how to get a funded project. Okay, to give my own experience, actually, when I joined the institution, I was new. It was only a try. It was the first time I applied. I got it. It depends upon the topic that you choose. That is what the approach that you undertake. So you should be, you should know the guidelines first. Okay, ICSSR is allowing PhD scholars. Okay, you should have a PhD degree. Okay, first I would suggest is you will go for a minor research project. Okay, go for a minor research project, and then that is what. So what I did was, even before applying, I went to University of Madras. This is what we have in our state. I consulted a senior professor. That was the advice that was given to me. First, go for a minor project. Then you will understand how to know how to do a project. That will give you an exposure, and after that only you will have to apply for a major project. So shorter duration project, small budget project, apply for that. Try to get an experience of how to draft a proposal. Okay, even if it is going to be a failure at the first instance, you will get it is a learning experience. That is how you will have to take. So again and again, if you're going to apply, definitely at one point of time, you will definitely get the grant. So you will have to choose topics. Choosing topic is more important. How relevant it is. So policy oriented. Okay, contemporary issues. How what is the scope? How potential? How prospective it is for you to get the proposal, for the funding agency to grant the proposal. So that is what I said, right? You will have to take from the projects that had been already sanctioned. So I took a topic, manual scavenging. That was the first project that I applied for. I took it from the website. I saw that it was particular my topic was not studied. So from the topic that had been already granted, I took that as a cue, and from there I developed my research area, and I was able to align that with the interest of the funding agency.
Right. So there is one more question from Professor Ramachandran. In social science research, how can a proposal clearly demonstrate the significance and societal impact of the study to stand out during funding or ethics review?
How can a proposal
clearly demonstrate the significance and societal impact of the study to stand out? I think he is asking about the winning proposal. How to choose a very societal impact based proposals?
Okay, societal impact and winning the significance.
Significance, yes.
Okay, that is what. So you will have to, tell your funding agency. You will have to highlight how are you going. You will have to state the problem, how it is going to be in a real time issue, a real life terms. Okay, you will have to research your research questions, your research area. Your research problem should be related to the community, how significant it is to the community, how it is significant to the policy needs. Okay, who are going to benefit it? So this is how it is significant. Who are the stakeholders? Okay, who are going to be the direct beneficiaries, the indirect beneficiaries? What kind of policy relevance is there? Okay, what is the practical output? That is what we were seeing, right? When we were talking about the structure of a proposal. So we were talking about how this is how you will show it is significant. This is how you will show that it is going to have a societal impact, because you're going to dwell into a topic which has not been researched so far, which has not been policy recommendations have not happened so far. Okay, and it has not. You are going to create an impact. It is going to the output a long run. You are going to see the outcome is. It is not a short-term perspective, but a long-term perspective. So you will have to present your proposal in such a manner that it is beneficial to the society and to the government.
Right. Ma'am,
So
there is
you
a
will have to use
participant.
indicators in order to tell that this is the impact that it is going to have on the society.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Last year, I submitted a proposal. I'm an English professor, ma'am. I submitted on ELT, but it is not granted. This year, I'm planning to approach this, family and technology, ma'am.
Family and family system
technology, or else elderly care, ma'am. So I'm in need of getting some guidance from you regarding this. So that is what I applied this, ma'am.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
The topic here is elderly care, ma'am. Myself, Priyadarshini, and my colleague Sarath Kumar from Engineering Department. He is also helping as a co-PED.
Okay, okay.
But our clarification here is we want to get clarified because we both are from different disciplines, but the social science is also a different discipline. It is basically interdisciplinary thing, ma'am. I don't know how to start this research. That is what I just asking you, ma'am.
Okay, so
and in this topic,
it is between English and
ECE engineer, ma'am. He's a professor.
Okay, okay. So
yes,
you want to know what kind of topics can be taken into consideration. You want to know what topics. You want to know about the topics. Okay.
No, ma'am. We knew few things about the topic, ma'am, but we don't know how to start the research. We almost gathered 50 research ideas, research publications already published the data.
So are you able to identify the research gap, ma'am?
No, ma'am, we can't. That is what I'm asking, ma'am.
So you will have to review the literature, ma'am. You review the literature. That is what we were seeing, ma'am. Only the literature will enable you to identify the research gap, ma'am. Maybe you can see whether mental health or the mental status or the well-being of elders are being addressed.
No, we are really practically we are ready to support them because we found an orphanage also, ma'am. Because this is a practically funded project, and so we are planning an orphanage to elderly care units. We are also ready to support them by our innovation. So we don't know where to start and how to start. Either we can go with technical side or with theoretical side. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, actually, I think we too have to, think about it. Just like that, we can't come up with a title. We will have to review the literature and we will have to brainstorm. More brainstorming has to be done, and maybe we will have to design a novel topic that which has not been researched so far. And what is that? You said that you have identified the orphanage. I'm sorry. Old age centers, ma'am. You have identified.
Yes, ma'am.
So what one old age center or many, ma'am, in your?
No, ma'am. Two, three old age old age homes, ma'am. They are expecting some need from us, so we are also ready to do them, and we can also ready to care them, and they need some certain technological supports like that supporting systems. So we are ready to help them, but we don't know how to create as a research paper.
Probably I suggest like you can interact personally after the meeting because we are getting delayed and we would like to conclude it.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay, sir.
I think maybe we can have a last question from the chat box that it is all about minimum number of objectives that we can have in a proposal and what might be the maximum word limit. I think with this question, we are closing the Q&A session from the chat box. We can take one more question from the audience. So the question from the chat box is minimum number of objectives.
Objectives is the word limit is set by the funding agency. You will have a word limit for every subheading that is there in the proposal. There is a word limit. Okay, so how many other objectives you are giving, you will have to have that many research questions. You will have to frame your hypothesis. So you will have to limit your objectives in such a manner that you are able to perform, you are able to actually incorporate those objectives in your study, and it is feasible for you to complete that. You are able to achieve your objectives finally. So you will have to make sure that whatever there is in your problem statement is going to become your objectives, and that is in turn is going to be your research questions. So, and you will also have to restrict your objectives to the word limit. So make sure that too many objectives, but you will have to make sure that the indicators, your objectives are related to the indicators that you have chosen and that which reflects your problem area.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. I think it's really a very extensive presentation, and I think even participants would have felt the same. So with this brief note, now the session is handed over to our coordinator of MCC Research Colloquium, Dr. Vijay Solomon, sir, for concluding remarks for further instruction of tomorrow's session. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining this meeting today, the first day. I have few suggestions for you. The WhatsApp link is already shared in the group. If you want, I can again share so that you can join the WhatsApp group, and the feedback link is already shared in the WhatsApp group. So please give the feedback that will be counted as a attendance. And tomorrow again, you can join at 6:45 as already mentioned. The first 500 will be admitted here in the Zoom, and the latecomers can be there in the YouTube live. So thank you so much for joining today. And I request the speaker to stay here. If you have, our speaker will be here for 5 minutes for your question and answers. Others can leave. You can give the feedback by clicking the link that is shared in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ma'am.
Ma'am, it's an informal interactive session, so you can interact with the speaker.
Small doubt, ma'am. I even posted in the chat box. I must have missed, I think. Like a study done in any other country, because different geographical location, different culture of people, can the same study can be replicated in another country?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It is
Because
accepted,
the result
ma'am?
is going to be different, ma'am. The result is
Yeah, with the same objective, and that will not have any kind of issues, no, ma'am? It can be
no,
done.
ma'am. The result is going to be different. The sample is going to be different. Okay.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that is not going to be an issue.
Ma'am, when you submit a proposal, the novelty plays a major role, ma'am. And if the same study with the same objective is being done there, and if it is not very relevant, your proposal might not be funded. If it is relevant still, then definitely there is a chance. So I always suggest that read the literature, find the gap, derive some research questions, and pragmatically you can develop the research idea. That's my suggestion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Good